which essentially is also the associative property. So while the associative property does not have to change the order, which you could do because the commutative property of addition, the associative property of addition tells us that if you want to group these two first, you could. And we use grouping. It says grouping. That's parentheses like this. And some of you guys are like, I know that's the order of operation stuff. We're not there yet, okay? Just understand that when you see parentheses like this, generally what that means is that we want to focus on what's inside before we focus on what's on the outside, okay? But the associative property gives us the ability to operate, particularly with addition, on two values before we look at any other values. So right here, if I don't want to worry about the A, I want to do B plus C, I could do that first. Or if I wanted to focus on A plus B first before I do the C, feel free to do it. That's the associative property right there, okay? Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because the associative property generally is written like this. Right here at the top. So it would say, look, whether you want to group these two in the beginning or these two in the beginning, it's not going to matter. But generally what that means is that if you started without any parentheses whatsoever, like we had in the beginning, right? Like without these parentheses, you could, if you wanted to, you could focus on two at a time. Okay, and so the associative property allows us, and same with the commutative property, it allows us to break up problems generally that are bigger into smaller, more manageable problems, which almost essentially is the way that we add by place values. So this is, yeah, go ahead. Rewrite the expression using the associative property of addition. So we're going to show the property, and then we're going to simplify as we go. Now, not only are they going to say use the associative property, but they want to see you work within the grouping first. So that's what we're going to be doing in this problem. So I'm going to show everything, right? So first, the associative property. Let's start with this first problem, 3 plus 5 plus 6, right? Now, again, the associative property does not have to change order, which means that when we use the associative property strictly, we don't generally change the order. But again, you can combine the two strategies, the two properties, and change the order if it were advantageous. Now, before it was showing parentheses around the 5 and 6, right? So I'm going to move those parentheses, not the numbers, not the order, just the parentheses, and say, now what I have right here, this would be the associative property from what we had to start with, okay? So this is what you would want to put into that box on the homework. Now, the next one would say, well, what do you get from the grouping or something like that? I forget how it's worded, actually, in fact. Let me just, I pushed the wrong button. Simplify inside the grouping symbol. That's what it's going to say, okay? So simplify inside the grouping symbol means that we're going to take what's inside the grouping symbol, the parentheses, and combine those. So right here I got 3 plus 5, which is 8. And then I would have still the plus 6, right? So that's what I would put into that box, 8 plus 6. And then to further simplify, which is just the final answer here, the simplification, which would be the next box, I'd have 8 plus 6. And whether you stack it, whether you use the V right there, 8 plus 6 is 14. So this would be in one box. This would be in another box. That would be in another box. So doing this next problem here, 8 plus 1 plus 6. So to rewrite it with the associative property, again, we do not want to change the order because that would be commutative property. I'm just going to change where the parentheses are, and now I'm going to put them around the 1 and the 6. So that's the associative property right there, and that would fill in one box. Now to combine the grouping, that's the 1 plus the 6, which is 7, which now changes this expression to 8 plus 7, and that would go into a new box, and then 8 plus 7 is 15. All right, and then this last one, again, the associative property will not change the order, although the commutative property will. So I'm going to write these out in order with no parentheses, and that's a 9 at the end there, but I'm going to just change where the parentheses are. It was around the 297 and the 29, but I want them to be now around the 20 297. Okay, so that would be the use of the associative property right there. And then, of course, on the homework, is a group inside the parentheses. So 297 plus, yeah, we can write this out, 20 plus 297. So ones place, 0 plus 7 is 7. Tens place, 2 plus 9 is 11. And then the hundreds place value, 1 plus 2 is 3. So that's going to be 317 there. But we still have the plus 29, right? So this would go in one box. That goes in the next box. And then the simplified answer, we take the 317 and then add our 29 there. 7 plus 9 is 16. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 plus 2 is 4. And then the 3 stays the same. So combining these is fully simplified as 346. As we see bigger problems, you may not see any parentheses whatsoever, but the associative property tells us that if you want to start grouping things in the middle, you can. And you could say, well, that's related to the commutative property. You can move all the numbers you want to start with as far left as you want, because generally we start as far to the left as we can go, and then we operate left to right, which is going to be the case once we get into more order of operations kind of stuff. But the commutative property means that you can move those around as much as you want, or you can group them however you want, however is more convenient, I should say. So these two properties, the reason why we go over these so early is because they are, again, they can make things extremely convenient for us.